I'm going to be honest and say that when I was studying, I thought that when I got up on stage that I should pray that the rapture should come. You guys are a room full of pastors. I would never have to speak this message and we could just go on. And maybe it would be written in heaven that I caused the rapture to come, but evidently God had another plan. So here we go, child. Here we go. There is this phenomenon that takes place in the earth. It's called confluence. And confluence is when two rivers meet and become one river. Two rivers join together and become a single channel. And in the process of them merging, they become a stronger current than they were when they were flowing individually. It is not lost on me that in many ways this is a moment of spiritual confluence. That there are rivers flowing through the doors each time one of you comes in. And that we did not come in here so that we could continue to flow in the same way we have been flowing. That we came into this room because we believe that if we were able to have confluence, if we were able to take our flow and merge it with another flow, that we would be a stronger flow when we got back home. I'm talking about why we registered to come to this event. Confluence is more important than influence. It has been said in business that before you can properly influence anything, that first you must have confluence. You've got to go with the flow. Confluence, with flow. And the reality is that so many of us want influence first without confluence. We don't want to understand the culture that we've been called to change. We just want to get in there and lay out our rules and lay out our plans, and then we wonder why we are frustrated when our plans are not working. But did you study the atmosphere that you've been called to change? Confluence. Marriage is not one person influencing, it's confluence. It's two people coming together with an idea that makes the other idea stronger as a result of being paired together. Confluence is necessary in your organizations. If you do not have confluence in your organizations, then they are going to be influenced by the pre-existing culture. But if you have confluence, and you can take two good ideas and turn them into great ideas because we are sharpened when we are together. There's something about confluence that we must recognize if we're going to stabilize the call. We can create the idea, we can start the church, but if we are going to be effective in our businesses, if we're going to be effective in our communities, if we are going to be effective in our marriages, this cannot be a dictatorship. This must be confluence. I have to know what you think. I have to know what you see. I have to understand your perspective. I need confluence because I recognize that I am stronger when I flow with you than when I'm flowing by myself. We are a movement by ourselves, but we're a force when we're together. I wonder how different the church would be, how many people would stay instead of leaving if we knew how to be confluence instead of trying to build our own ideas of what a Christian is supposed to look like, and then shun those who don't recognize that we were never called to have a uniform. We were called to be effective. Jesus. I want to set the stage properly because in our text, we're going to see confluence. We're going to see a spiritual confluence. Jesus. This moment right here, this moment of me standing here, in spite of what I've gone through, in spite of the own flow that I was going in that didn't look like ministry at all, but all of a sudden there was this moment where my flow collided with God's flow, that collided with my Father's flow, and all of a sudden confluence took place. I think that's a word for somebody who's been wondering if the seeds they placed in their child and the seeds they placed in their community are ever going to come to fruition. If I didn't say anything at all but stood here and looked you down in your face, I want you to know that it is a testimony that that thing that you placed in that child is still in them. I don't care how they're flowing right now. They cannot deny that you put a flow in the earth for them, that before they got in trouble, you were praying. Before they got stuck, that you were worshiping. I know the flow that I created before my child got lost, and I'm just sitting down waiting for that flow to merge with what God told me. Confluence. I'm not worried when my child is flowing in a way I don't understand, because I know that I got a stronger flow that's out in the atmosphere. I got a chain-breaking flow that's out in the atmosphere. I got a demon-shaking, hell-trembling flow that's out in the atmosphere. And I needed to see Sarah Jakes Roberts. She didn't have to say a word. She just reminded me that separate flows merge and become a stronger, single channel. So when we find Elijah and Elisha, they represent a confluence. They were two separate entities. But Elijah threw his mantle on Elisha, and it became a single channel. And so they became one single channel, but they're about to have another merging. Because Elijah is about to transition into glory. And because he's about to transition into glory, that means that the Elijah-Elisha channel is about to have a merging that's going to create a confluence that's going to go throughout all of the earth. It's called a double portion anointing. I promise you, I studied. I'm going to lay it out the way God gave it to me. Just be patient with me as I see this thing the way he gave it to me. In order for us to merge into one single flow, we have to recognize that the first thing that happens to us, the thing that we often hate the most, is the end of the original flow. In order for us to become a stronger flow, a single channel in tune with what God has called us to do, we have to be willing to have the end of the previous flow, the end of the previous current, the end of the previous rhythm. We got to be willing to let go of some things to become stronger. And nobody tells you that when you start off dreaming and you start off planning. And it's not until you find yourself in moments like Elijah and Elisha that we recognize, I saw this so much differently, that the end of the flow is just as challenging as creating the flow in the first place. The end of a flow. As Elijah is preparing to be taken up in a whirlwind, he knows that he's going to be called home this day. He's going to be called home. And so he is dealing with the process of his life changing. And I realize that he is rejecting, you guys are Bible scholars, you know the text better than I do. I realize that when he is pushing Elisha away, that he's having to deal with the fact that Elisha is not going to be connected to him the way that he once was, that their flow is ending. And I wonder how many pastors and how many leaders are in this room who are having to deal with the end of the flow as they once knew it. I thought as a PK that maybe we were being rejected, that maybe we didn't understand fully where we fit. And now I realize that my dad couldn't fully tell us where we fit because he was trying to figure out where he fit the flow that he knew was ending, and he was becoming a stronger flow. And sometimes when you're becoming a stronger flow, you don't know where people fit. Yeah, not even your wife, not even your best friend, not even your children. I answered the call. I know that this is what God has called me to do. I just didn't know that it was going to cost so much for the flow to end. Elisha has been with Elijah. He served him. He took care of him. He was there when he called fire down from heaven. He saw him perform miracles. He saw him prophesy. He saw him stand in front of kings. And yet this is a different flow that he's about to see Elijah in. This is a different flow. And it is not lost on me that in this room, as we stretch ourselves and prepare to lay hold of what God has called us to really create an impact, that some of us are going to have people be in our lives, even if we don't know exactly where they fit in. We're going to have to be honest and vulnerable enough to let them come, even when we don't know where we're going.